Ready? 281, Mississinewa Community School Corporation, regular meeting of Board of School Trustees. I'll call to order. At this time, Mrs. Freitas will lead us in prayer and pledge. Please stand if you can.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, for the opportunity to serve, for the opportunity to have fellowship and sharing at this wonderful time of the year. We are all so blessed, but we know some people aren't, and some of the young people and the people in our community are not. And we thank you for We Care and the organizations that help them out, and we ask you to bless each family and each child in this town and make their Christmas a merry one. Then we have to look at the new year, and we just always strive to do better, and we ask you for wisdom and guidance so that our leaders can lead this school system into the best direction possible for our students. We thank you for this season, for your many blessings, and most of all for your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Freitas. Okay, 288 minutes, including executive session.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cunningham.
I make a motion to approve the minutes, including the executive session certification as presented.
Okay, need a second.
Second.
Mrs. Freitas. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 284, Gas City Mill Township Library Board appointee.
Yes, Mr. President, we would recommend the approval of Lucas Moon to be appointed to the Gas City Mill Township Library Board from January 1st, 2020 through December of 2023.
What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. President,
Mr. Smith, go ahead.
I move to approve the Gas City Mill Township Library Board appointment as presented.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Herrera. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say no. Motion carries. Okay. Personnel, Mr. McKenzie.
Yes, we have quite a list for this time of year. We have the following personnel items for your consideration this evening. Ian Van Winkle has resigned as the head cross-country coach at the high school, effective immediately. Rachel Williamson has resigned as a science teacher at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective December 31st, 2019. Sheila Trent has resigned as a special education job coach at Mississinewa High School, effective December 20th, 2019. Ian Van Winkle has resigned as track coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. Aaron Robinson has resigned as a track coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. Scott Taylor has resigned as track coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. We also have the following new hires to present this evening for the board's consideration. Willie Barnes to be hired as the head 6th grade boys basketball coach, effective immediately. Philip Vasquez to be hired as the assistant 6th grade boys basketball coach, effective immediately. Kurt Funk to be hired as the head wrestling coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. Patrick McPherson to be hired as an assistant wrestling coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. Steve Fritchman to be hired as an assistant wrestling coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. Kirsten Levitt to be hired as a girls track coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. Cody Calgill to be hired as boys track coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. Dan Patton to be hired as the 8th grade softball coach at RJ Baskett Middle School, effective immediately. Andy Varner to be hired as the head golf coach at Mississinewa High School, effective immediately. And Mr. Varner is here with us this evening. Congratulations. Assuming they'll vote yes. I shouldn't have said that. I think you're safe. Aaron Robinson to be hired as assistant track coach at Mississinewa High School, effective immediately. Chris Butchie to be hired as assistant track coach at Mississinewa High School, effective immediately. Larry Bryant to be hired as assistant track coach at Mississinewa High School, effective immediately. And I don't know if I'll say the last name on this last one correctly, but I'll give it a shot. Natalie Gennaro? Say it for her. Gennaro.
Hey, Natalie.
That's the best I can do.
Hey, now, H.
You know,
Renato.
ask the Spanish
Okay,
teacher. down
we know who we're talking about. To be hired as a science teacher at RJ Baskett Middle School on a temporary contract effective January 6, 2020. And we would recommend approval of these personnel items as presented this evening.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. President,
Mr. Crouch.
make a motion to approve the personnel as presented, please.
Need a second, anyone?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Just kidding, you know that.
Well, then I do have a question.
Oh, here we go.
No, just what?
Too late.
We talked about this.
Is Trent leaving to drive a bus somewhere else, or is she just switching within the
Sheila Trent is staying within our district.
That's it.
She's moving from a para position as job coach to bus driver. Yep.
No more questions.
No more questions. No, anybody got it? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Conference request, Mr. Baker.
Congratulations, Mr. Beasley.
Yeah, oh, yeah. When you get done, you're welcome to shake hands.
We have the following conference requests. We have one, I think. No, we have two. We have the following conference requests to present this evening. Dave Bear and Cindy Walker to attend the Indiana Music Educators National Conference to be held in Fort Wayne on January 17th through the 18th, 2020, at a cost of $216 to be paid for from the high school travel account. Kathy Walters to attend the Indiana Music Educators National Conference to be held in Fort Wayne on January 16th through the 18th, 2020, at a cost of $250 to be paid for from the high school travel account, and we would recommend approval of these conference requests as presented this evening.
What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Freitas.
I move we accept the conference request as presented.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Herrera. Okay. Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. 287, facilities report.
Yes, Mr. Gosser isn't with us this evening, but we have nothing to present this evening to the board under facilities. Are there any questions or comments from the board in that regard?
Okay. 288, legislative update. Mr. Cunningham.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Pam again was kind enough to upload a presentation for the governor's agenda, for next level agenda for Building Indiana. And there's a PowerPoint that's in there, and then there's also some paperwork to go with it. But I went ahead and made a copy of the sort of his big ticket items that he's looking at for economy, infrastructure, workforce and education, public health, and then good government, and just a couple of things to highlight in there. And again, we'll want to watch the legislative session because many of this from the governor's office, the people that he's in touch with, will drive legislation. Under workforce and education was support teacher compensation commission and making teacher pay more competitive. There's a little bit more detail into that in the PowerPoint, so you might want to look at that. Changing career-related teaching professions and growth points from required to optional. And then hold schools harmless for the 18-19 iLearn scores. So those are just a few of the things that are there. I'm sure there'll be other items that'll come up at that time. But if you get a chance, it'd probably be good for you to review it, and then you can look back and say, hey, I remember when Chris told me that. Now it showed up in legislation. Or you can just wait till I tell you, one or the other. But anyway, if you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But it's I like the visual because it gives you just a quick hit of what different items may come up. January 6th will be, they'll throw out the first pitch for legislation and opening of both the House and the Senate, and you'll start to see bills coming fast and furious after that. Probably the following week. I probably won't have it on the 6th because that'll be the, I think our next board meeting, but definitely the meeting after that, I'll have a list for you for education bills that'll be coming forward. So that's all I have, sir.
Okay, anybody got any questions? Nice job, Chris, you always give a nice job.
Thank you.
289, corporate sponsored donations, grants. Adam?
Yes, we have the following donations to present for the board's consideration this evening. From Barry Bunker Chevrolet to FFA in the amount of $60. And from Dave's Excavating Incorporated to FFA in the amount of $60. From the Indiana Bar Foundation to We the People in the amount of $1,500. And from AgriCorps Incorporated to the high school girls basketball program in the amount of $100. And then we had a late donation that came in, to my knowledge today, in the name of Dennis and Lois Austin in the amount of $500. It was donated to the School Lunch Debt Angel account, which Mrs. Warwick's here, but I'm going to make a stab at my definition of what that means, unless the board already knows exactly what that means. But that is an account that's set aside by donations to help people who are struggling paying their lunch account, who have fallen into financial difficulty and are struggling to pay their bills. And so we use that account, that donated account, to help those people. Is that right? Okay. And so we would recommend approval of these donations as presented this evening.
Okay, what's the board's pleasure?
Mr. President,
Mr. Smith?
move to approve the corporate sponsors donations as presented.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
I'll give us a crowd just then. Okay, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Claims, Ms. Townsend.
Yes, recommending approval of claims totaling $1,317,204.76.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cunningham,
I make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
need a second.
Second.
Mr. Crouch, give up already. Okay. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. 291, correspondence and other business.
Yes, I have a couple of items that I wanted to mention. First of all, we talked about a donation to We the People, and I understand that we had state-level success recently in We the People competition. I think we had 2 teams or 2 categories that we were. You want to speak to that briefly?
2 units we had win, I believe it was Unit 4 and Unit 6. They won their unit. Question that put us 10th overall in the state.
And I think we were the only high school in the state that won 2 categories, isn't that right? So very proud of that program.
Those teams were Carmel, Hamilton Southeastern,
All big schools, yeah.
help me,
Homestead.
Homestead, and Mississinewa.
And along with that, we had the appellate court today. I got to go to that, and they've been there 3 times. The judges were there, so they've been there 3 times with that. Very respectful of our program. They both, all 3 of them were, so
Yeah.
it was nice. So,
Nice.
go ahead. You said you had a couple things.
Yes, oh, well, the last thing, I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and hope 2020 is a healthy and happy new year. And that's all I have. Mrs. Townsend, Mrs.
Nope.
Winter, you have anything?
No,
Principals have anything? That's all we have this evening.
On behalf of the board, we appreciate the supper you had for us and the gifts, and we're very appreciative of the year you've given our school and our corporation. And your hard work, we all feel the same way about it, and we're always proud to be wearing the red and white and calling ourselves Indians. And you guys make that special in our kids, so thank you.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas. I promise to get these guys out early. I know that you got a ball game to go to, you got a ball game to go to, so if there's nothing else, I move to, from the board.
I have one thing.
Oh,
I just want a couple of these people to hang around. because my life was threatened if I ask any questions. I asked one.
We just teased.
Mr. Gaskin, I failed to mention that we do have the Feast of Carols tomorrow at, I believe, Westview Wesleyan, 7 o'clock. And then Wednesday night is the Christmas band concert, middle school, high school, out at the high school gym on Wednesday, I think, at 7 o'clock. So
And
'tis the season.
I saw the 8th grade's version of 6th, 7th, 8th grade version a couple nights ago there, so yeah, it's really nice. Feast of Carols is always one of the more,
Yep.
if you've never been to it.
It's usually moving.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I move to 292, adjournment.
So moved.
Mr. Cunningham. Need a second.
Second.
Mr. Crouch. You're not gonna say anything at all? No questions or? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Anybody from the public would like to address the board, please come up, give your name and address, telephone number.
Mike Crouch.
Seeing none, have a nice Christmas.
Don't ask any
holidays.
questions.
If you'd like to speak.
I was gonna ask you.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon me?
Yeah, Terry's gonna come.
It's January 13th, I believe.
You guys have a Merry Christmas.
I saw it.
Oh, well, I knew it was coming.
Way down.
I kind of figured this might be the last one.